Hello everybody, this is Kay, and thank you for joining me here today on my channel, Gigi's Paper Treasures. I am doing a flip through of days or prompts 16 through 23 today of Junk Journal January 2026, which is hosted by Debbie over at Ink and Page. I'll put the link to Debbie's channel below if you're interested in doing this project that she's hosting. You can still do it. You can catch up if you want to. But I have two other videos where I did prompts 1 through 7 and then 8 through 15. And so today is going to be 16 through 23. And if you've been watching my other videos, you'll know that I'm using two like guest books, blank guest books that I had found at a thrift store to do this project in. I had two of them and I decided to use two because this is basically just prompts 1 through 16 in this one, and you can see how chunky it already is, and there's just no way I could fit the whole month into one, so I decided just to use them both. I'm going to go ahead at some point and make some kind of a label for each one that says like part 1 and part 2, but I haven't done that yet. So today I'm going to start with this one because day 16 is actually the last page one. So, and I just did a 1-page spread. Let's see, the prompt for day 16 was frame, and Debbie had provided, in her digitals that she sends out for each prompt, a frame and cards to put in it. So I did like a vellum window here, and this card pulls out this way, and then I left the back of it open. You can see I did kind of a background that you can kind of see through the vellum with one of the flowers, and I kind of messed up and covered some of my wording back there, but it says, "A thing of beauty is a joy forever." I just accidentally covered up part of my first word there. But this slides in there and can be seen through the window. And this is just some of the extra like pieces that she gave you a choice to use in this project. And I just clipped them together. And like I said, I left the back open for kind of a top pocket to put those into. And then I just embellished the front with some of my fake little flowers and gems and one of the butterflies from the kit. So that being the last page of this part 1 was prompt 16. And then I'm doing prompt 17 through the end of the month in this one. Prompt 17 was envelope. And I put the large one that she provided in the inside of my front cover. I just embellished it with some of the little pieces, and I left the top open for a pocket. I have to get caught up on my writing right there. These are a couple of just little journaling cards that I had made with some of my offcuts and did some stenciling on. So that's a pocket behind that envelope, and I also added a little bit of a shallow pocket here in the front for little items. And I don't think I have anything actually in there yet. I made it kind of tight. It's going to be hard to get things in and out of that, so I don't know. I might just leave it empty. But I left this open in the middle so that I could tuck that flap in. And then the smaller envelopes I put on this page with a little cluster down here. And in this envelope, I just got some extra little tags and pieces. And this envelope, I used one of my little die cuts that I made from my off-cut kind of masterboard things there as a little tuck to hold the flap down for this. And some of the extra pieces I've tucked into that envelope. And I die cut this heart out, and then I used some glossy accents to just add a little something to the top with some lines and dots on that heart. So this just tucks under there, and this one goes in this pocket. And then prompt 18 was Snippet, and we did a bunch of just collaging and using fabric, and I used some embossed papers and some punch outs and some stamping to make just kind of a double page spread with side pockets here. And I sewed my pockets on this edge just to kind of reinforce the edge where the items slide in and out. And I used some lace. Here's a couple of words that I cut out from one of the days. I forget which day she had provided some quotes on, and I just cut out a couple of different words from the quotes. And I just did some stamping and some punching and collaging for day 18. So prompt 19 was stamp, and I did a 2-page spread here with that. I have a flip up and a flip out with some of the pieces from the kit. I turned this blank piece into a postcard by stamping and putting a couple of my own little postage stamps on there. And I left the side open over here so it would be kind of a side pocket. I glued this pocket down with my glue about right here so that it wouldn't be so deep that I would lose these pieces when I put them in. So it's glued down to about right there. And that covers it. And that goes down. And this is the floral piece that came. So this is the same image that's underneath here, only a little bit smaller. And I put some foam tape on there to raise that up and give it kind of a dimensional look. And then embellished it with some of my gems. And over on this page, I just made kind of a pocket out of some vellum that I had printed one of the background pages on. This page with the butterflies. That's one of my favorite pages in her first day, where she gave us all the background pages and stuff. And I just collaged a couple of the pieces up here. I put a little butterfly charm on here just to add a little something here and kind of tie it in with the butterfly idea. And then clustered a few pieces on top of here with the number 19. And in here I just put an envelope that I had stenciled on. I don't have anything in there yet, but that gives me another place to put leftover ephemera if I have it. And that's prompt 19 for stamp. Prompt 20 was flip, and I printed these 2 pieces out twice and used one on each of these pages. So that flips out like that and that like that. These kind of tuck under. So I put tabs down here to kind of tuck that flap under and hold it closed. And I did the same thing on both sides. I put a pocket on the inside of both flip outs to put stuff in. This one I just made out of some file folder. And this is actually a little kind of a shallow pocket here too that I have available for smaller items as I go through with this project. And then on the outside I put some of my flat crochet lace and the words flip out that I got from my alphabet punch out set. And I took one of the little butterflies there. I collaged this up here a little bit because it was looking plain, and then I added some bling to the body of the butterfly. These little tab punch outs I just did with some scraps to add as my flip out holder. So it holds that closed. And then on this flap, which was also a little bit plain, I added a little belly band. These were some of the pieces that were from the lace day, I think it was, that Debbie had provided. And I made a little belly band out of that, and then I just made a little journal card to stick under there for day 20, prompt, which was flip. Okay, 21 was accordion, and Debbie had provided a couple of little of those kind of expandable envelopes, and you can see I've got some stuff in some of the tiny little ephemera I think this one has all of those butterflies in it. And I made like a Velcro closure for each one of those. Put one of my gems on the flap too, so that, you know, when you go to open it, there's something kind of sturdy there to grab onto. And I left this plain. There's my favorite page with the butterflies again, but I did I die cut some of my little flowers out of some of the extra pieces and put those over here with brads as the middles. And that was day 21, accordion. 22 was tab, and I'm going to have to do some fixing on this because these keep falling off. But so over here on the edge, I used the largest of the tabs she had in the kit, and I collaged it up with lace and book page and another piece of the ephemera and a butterfly. And I punched some holes in the edge. Sorry, you couldn't see that very well. I punched some holes in the edge and then just wound some fibers through those holes. And then for the rest of the page, I just made kind of little bands of ribbon going across to hold tags in place. And the way I did these tags was using some of the tabs in the kit. I put them on just different pieces that I made into tags, but I left the back kind of open like that, so they would just kind of hang over onto these little horizontal, almost like a clothesline idea to hang those tags on. So that was tabs day 22. And for day 23, the last one that I'm going to go through today was dyed. And so I dyed some, it's not cheesecloth, it's like first aid gauze that I had in my first aid box. And I dyed it as best I could with some different paints and dyes that I have, which I thought would go well with the color scheme. They don't all match perfectly. Like the teal kind of that's in here is kind of bright and doesn't really go too well, but I used what I had on hand. And then so I glued down the gauze in the background. This piece I glued down to help it make it easier to slide this in and out of this little pocket that I did here at the bottom. And I was going to put this piece in the pocket too, but in the end I just decided to glue this whole thing down. And I just put the colors on using some eyelets. Not eyelets, but you know, they're just like eyelets, but they're more like embellishments. But I kind of left them loose so that they could kind of turn. So there's a little bit of movement in this piece. And then I used some more of my alphabet punch outs down here for the word dyed. And I just realized that I forgot to put my number 23 on this one anywhere as well. So I may go back and do that after I finish making this video. Oh, and so the other piece that was in the kit for this day was this tag, which was kind of a folding tag, which that's what I did. I just folded it, but I made it into a top pocket as well. And I've got like a couple of extra pieces from today's kit in there. And then I made just a little hidden paper clip to hold the top of this closed. If I can get it back on there. And that just tucks into this pocket. So those are my prompts for days 16 through 23. I hope you've enjoyed this kind of demonstration. And like I said, I will link Debbie's channel below if you want to go check her videos out and join in this project. And also I will put the links to my first two videos, which were prompts 1 through 7 and then prompts 8 through 15, if you haven't seen those yet and are interested in checking those out. Thank you so much for watching today, and have a blessed day.